I don't think I've seen that.
Like, you've seen it. The front fell off.
Front fell off what?
It's just the front fell off, and that's and.
What did they call
At
themselves?
the end of the day, they called themselves the Aristocrats.
How do you want to open a podcast on that, man, and not tell them the joke and the lead up to it? Hello and welcome to Live at the Lounge. It is Sunday, September 22nd. I should have rehearsed that.
Yes.
It's almost October. Jeez. So we are live at Cavalier Cigar Company. We got Texas Media Foundry making us hopefully look and sound somewhat decent. I'm Sam. This is Alex, and on the end there is David, and we are live at the lounge. So this is a interactive podcast. We're monitoring the feed here on our phones, and if you got any questions or comments or concerns, or if you just want to be rude in general, just send us a message and we'll read it out on air.
And we'll be rude back.
Now, you have a W-2 paying job. That's why you cannot be rude on this podcast.
Shit.
Independent contractors.
Independent contractors.
That's the way to go.
1099s.
I'd be willing to bet his W-2's got a few more digits on it than our 1099s.
Yeah, my tax bill has a few more digits too, though.
Or taxes.
Right?
Right, so how was your week, everybody? What kind of week have we had?
Interesting. I got involved in a project I've never been through before. Construction planning and facility and site design.
Nice. What about you, Alex?
It's good. I surpassed my days of owning my rental car more than I actually had my real car.
Nice.
So that was the 6th. So that was good.
And
I'm sorry.
I'm worried I'm growing attached to it. It's really odd. Like there's gonna be features. I'm gonna be like, come on, like go to my old car. And I'm gonna be like, power windows.
and
His car has power windows.
It does.
your new car does. Surely it does.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know, Alex,
We talked about it last
through
week.
absolutely no fault of his own, crashed his brand new car the other week when somebody very kindly pulled out right in front of him, and has been given a Volvo. What is it? An X90?
Yeah, the XC90.
So he's living large in his Volvo.
He's living like a single soccer mom.
It's pretty great. Just call me Carol, I guess.
Karen?
Karen, Carol.
Karen.
Whichever.
Should dye his hair blonde and go with a bob.
Yeah. Speak to the manager.
That's messed up, man.
It is.
So tell us a little bit about site construction, David.
No, yeah. So we are planning the demolition of one of our buildings and the building of a new one. And whenever you're dealing with manufacturers, they have certain things that they want in the building to be up to their standards. And if you let them design them, the first design they came to us with was 18,000 square feet, which is a very big building.
That's quite a large building
Yeah.
for selling, what,
Of
40
that
40
brand-
cars a month
well,
on
that
that
brand, 16 to 20.
That's a very large building.
It's a big building. We said no more than 1,000 square foot per unit. We ended up at 6,000 square feet by the time it was all said and done, without having to stack any employees.
That's a third.
Yeah, it is a third, yes.
It's probably a third of the money.
Almost exactly.
33.3%.
Yeah.
Repeating. And it's a bunch of money, and it's more space on our lot to display more vehicles, to sell more for them so they can be happier.
Are you going to do one of those big rotating
There will be
pin
no car carousel.
What about a gorilla waving his hands,
There will
standing on
be
the
a
roof?
creatable inflatable.
Get out. Who makes those even?
You rent them.
Huh.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think you can buy them.
Could we just rent a
could.
gorilla and set it up outside in a car park?
Yeah, absolutely. I know a guy.
The more you know.
There's rules about that with the City of College Station.
The amount of days you can have it displayed are limited.
Yep.
What is it, 30 days in any particular 90-day period?
No, they have a
No.
specific rule pertaining to gorillas.
Grand openings as well.
Specifically to gorillas?
No, to creatable inflatables.
Well, because we had the balloon on top of the Remax building for 30 days.
Yeah.
And I think I read it could only be 30 days in any specific 90-day window.
Because that's a brand-specific sign,
And it was an opening of that
they'll
brand.
let it happen for 30 days. If I just wanted to throw a gorilla out front, you might get about 6 before you got an angry letter, and about 14 before they showed up and took it down
I
themselves.
think 14 gorillas is like that's like a little pride of gorillas.
Is it a pride? Is it
I don't
herd?
know.
A gaggle?
No, they're called something.
What's the plural of gorilla?
no?
the
What
group.
they hang out? in.
What is the
the
group
group
of
name
gorillas?
for a gorilla? Can we look that up,
A
please,
gang
Jamie?
of gorillas.
I would think it'd be.
We need the research
pack.
department to look this up.
I think
Well, but
it'd be a pack.
there's like an alpha male, and so
Right.
there's got to be like a structure.
Colton says he found one on Amazon. He was tempted to put it on top of the shop. There's no room on top of the shop, mate, because that's where Sposey sits.
Oh yeah.
See, he's the resident gorilla.
If you could put him in a costume, he could just stand up there and wave.
I'm afraid of heat stroke.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have an air conditioner right now.
He doesn't have an air conditioner. He's getting primed and ready for the role as the Cavalier gorilla.
I mean,
It is really weird though, the groups of animal names, if you've ever gone through and just like looked at a list of them.
I haven't.
Pretty...
We did, however, get an angry letter about our wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men.
A band or a troop?
A band or troop of gorillas.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay, thank you, Keith.
Playing Jamie tonight. For us.
Yeah, so I was super excited one day, and it was a slow day, and we needed to increase sales, so I ordered 2 wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men.
Did you get it from Al's?
How can you say it so
Al's
effortlessly?
It's
Wacky waving
a,
arm
when
flailing
you
inflatable
become
tube
a general manager of a store, there's a test.
I can't say it
You
at
have
all.
to say Al Harrington's wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man Emporium.
Yeah.
5 times fast.
In the mirror,
Yes.
combing your hair,
Yes.
and then he appears.
Turn around, Seth MacFarlane's
They
behind
hand you your high shine pomade and say this is for you.
Route 2 and Wickapaw or something, isn't it?
On Route 2 in Weekapog.
That's there you
I
go.
have no idea what you guys. I have no idea
It's
what
a
the
Family
reference
Guy
It's a Family
sketch.
Guy.
But Colin says it's a band of gorillas.
A band.
Yeah, you know the original band of gorillas was called the Monkeys.
Yeah, and they weren't even real people.
What?
Oh, I was thinking of Gorillas the band, and you were thinking Monkeys the band.
Oh, I think I prefer Gorillas the band, although
Clint
Cannon
Eastwood was a good album.
might shoot me because she loves Davy Jones.
I was gonna say Davy Jones. He
Yeah.
played the tambourine.
He had a locker, didn't he?
No,
that was
the other
Ocean
one.
All right.
That was the other one. I actually I quite like the Monkeys.
Guys, it is really early in the podcast for us to have devolved to this.
They
We're
had
6 minutes in.
They had a great hit with "I'm a Believer." That's the one I know. You know, and it's the
Oh,
punch.
that's the Monkeys.
Yeah, it's the punchline of many jokes. But they were actually one of the first official
Hold
like,
on.
boy
He
bands.
started singing.
Yeah,
Please
no,
continue.
No, don't continue singing. The Monkeys were one of the first boy bands.
Okay.
The Beatles, they were a manufactured, produced band. And the Monkeys were one step further than that. They had their own TV show. The sole purpose of the Monkeys was not to bring the Monkeys writing to the forefront. It was to have a group of young, good-looking males that could be sold to the females. Yeah, I mean, they were probably one of the first
televised horrors.
mass-marketed boy bands.
Old School Nick at Night. I used to watch that when I was a kid, and they would have it was.
We Are the Monkeys or whatever it is.
Well, it was one of them, but there was a contest that you got to have Davy Jones come to your school, and he would play like at the.
That is like 1 a.m.
It's kind of like
Oh,
having,
yeah.
it's kind of like having David Hasselhoff show up right now.
Well, no, but it was like
Well, no, but
it was
Nick
like the
at Night
Brady
is the
Bunch.
older stuff.
Yeah.
It was like the Brady Bunch, but I mean, like you're talking 70s and stuff. But
That-
Davy Jones was still pretty popular, I assume.
That would have been cool. I mean, you would have
There
been
was
the
a David
coolest kid in
Hasselhoff
school.
sighting the other day.
Yeah, I saw it. That's
Was
why
it-
he sprung to mind.
Yeah.
What?
Where was it? Was he in Cape Town?
There was one on Reddit today.
Yeah.
They spotted him in Newcastle. Or something.
Newcastle, yes.
that's close to Cape Town.
What?
Same continent.
Or the same owners.
Barely.
Same hemisphere.
Yeah.
Jeez, but you're scratching right now,
I'm
mate.
reaching, man.
I don't think they are in the same hemisphere, to be honest.
Eastern
No,
or
they're
Western.
Northern.
Oh, yeah. East, west, northern.
That's
They're on the same side of the...
David Hasselhoff. He's nowhere on my list.
Well, you haven't shared your list with us
If you,
because you write in cursive.
it's like it's like having a manual transmission and putting it in front of an 18-year-old. I can write whatever I want on cursive. They just don't understand how it
code.
works. Yeah, it's magic code.
So
So
my receptionist writes in cursive, and I have to ask her, I'm like, stop. Like, your cursive is beautiful, but I can't read half of it.
How old is she?
What is wrong with you? Why can't you read cursive?
I learned cursive in school, but it's 2019, and it's not real fucking relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Of course it is. I don't have a typewriter in my finger.
You're English.
What?
It's like a thing. It's based on our previous
It
conversation.
would take me longer to type that on my phone than it would to scribble it down.
He still uses.
See, but
fountain
I
pens.
write like a doctor, so
Yeah.
I can't read my own handwriting half the time.
Yeah, I do too.
I thought you just prescribed random shit to people, hoping
I
they
do.
just leave you alone.
Yeah. Here's some Valium, go away.
Go away.
Difference between a drug dealer and a
It's
TripAdvisor.
not even a real prescription pad.
All right.
It's a sticky note saying, I can do this.
So I want to go out now, and I want to go out on a limb here because this
I hope it's a
cause
sturdy limb.
it needs to be if you're coming, mate. But this caused a little bit of a kerfuffle.
A kerfuffle.
And I didn't realise kerfuffle was a word that's fairly regional to Northern England and Scotland. I thought it was a common word. And I heard it used the other day, and somebody just paused and had to go look it up. So it's like
chuffed to bits, mate.
exactly. So I'll bring back kerfuffle, which means a ruffling of feathers, more or less. And so I don't know if any of you all follow Reddit, but they have a thing called AMA, which is Ask Me Anything. And around this time of the year, or around this time of the season, I should say, it's very common for politicians to go on Reddit and say, hey, I'm going to be doing an open forum at noon tomorrow, come and ask me your questions. So
Oh,
they have
boy.
open forum on
boy.
Reddit for politicians. Now,
Let's.
Yeah, this
now
sounds
let's-
tremendous.
Let's share what Reddit is if you're not entirely familiar with it.
They're watching
It
a
is
podcast on
one of the top 10 most visited sites on the internet.
I think it's the third most trafficked site
In the
internet
U.S.
now.
it is, and I think
Yeah.
worldwide it's in like 5 or 6.
It's fairly well read.
It's fairly well read. But it tends to devolve into shouting matches relatively quickly within the comments.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Reddit was pretty.
Depends which
Depends
subreddit
which
you're in.
subreddit you're
Oh,
in.
I'm in the nice ones like resin casting and stuff. And like art projects.
You and the 12 other guys that are in there.
and educational
They will,
gifs.
they will make dildos out of anything these days.
Yeah.
So, Beto,
Robert O'Rourke.
this presidential candidate or something, I'm not sure what
The
he
man
is.
who has lost his mind.
So somebody come in and
We talked about this a little bit last week. He came on the presidential debate stage and said,
Right.
somebody asked him, would you force mandatory buybacks of assault-style firearms? Which I have firearms in my house. They've never assaulted me, but that's a different conversation entirely. I watch them close.
I just got a samurai sword because they don't run out of bullets.
He did buy a samurai sword.
I always wanted one. Yeah. So
You also bought a tactical tomahawk that you cut your hand open with an hour into ownership.
tactically, it was very good. Thank you very much.
Assaulted him.
It assaulted him.
It did, yeah.
It's an assault
Banned assault
tomahawks.
tomahawks.
So anyway, the question that was asked by Comptroller Atkins was, how will you confiscate the millions of AR-15s? And
The same way they do drugs.
Beto's answer was, Americans will comply with the law. It will be a mandatory buyback of AR-15s and AK-47s, weapons designed for war. And he goes on at length. But that caused an absolute shitstorm. Is that the right?
It devolved into shouting,
Yeah. So I went ahead and I shared that picture on my personal Facebook page,
which devolved into shouting.
which devolved into shouting, which is kind of
Oh, is
shocking.
that what that was all about?
Yeah, it was Beto's post.
Is Vern out there?
Oh, Vern was deeply a part of it.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed.
There's a lot of deep.
Vern is a unique cat, and
Interesting fellow.
you know he's all right. He's just got some differing points of view, and
strong-held opinions.
Sometimes he struggles with the delivery of those opinions, but he's still got valid points.
You just have to remember that you'll never change somebody's opinion through an argument. So if you go into a
It's got to be
debate,
done through violence and hostilities.
Beating him.
resin-based dildo,
Yeah.
A 2-foot black rib nobbler just beat you to death.
Nobbler. This is
our English lesson for the night.
I only know about that because I caught one fishing in the canal around the back of the house.
Do like a British
What's
translation
going on in your
page.
canal?
You never went fishing as a kid?
I didn't catch any
I didn't
dildos.
catch any dildos.
You probably didn't steal any apples either.
No.
Well, yeah, we didn't steal apples as much as cars. But
Apples grow on trees. They're free.
not
Dildos,
necessarily.
you're not growing trees. Well, never mind. It's, it
Look, Abraham Lincoln once said. All right.
was Thomas Jefferson.
Was it Thomas Jefferson?
Don't believe what you read on the internet.
Don't believe anything you read on the internet.
Exactly.
So, get back to the point. Like, what on earth, right? Because my take on it's always been
Well, no war has ever been fought with an AR-15.
that's very true.
It is a semi-automatic.
If you look at how many are in the American military compared to how many registered gun owners there are in
Well,
America.
but let's talk about this. So, somebody posted a photo of it today that got me thinking. Was they put a photo up and said, you know, military weapons have no business in personal households. This hunting rifle should suffice. It shows a picture of an M1A. If you're not familiar with what an M1A is, it's a 30-06 semi-automatic rifle that was used during World War I, II, I. Somebody, history lesson. When was the M1A used? World War I. But it is a wood-stocked rifle. And so, because it's a wood-stocked rifle,
Looks less dangerous.
they look less dangerous. They look less menacing. So, that has been used in war.
But handguns kill exponentially more people than assault rifles.
Handguns were developed for the sole purpose
Alcohol
of taking a life.
kills a lot of people.
Right.
too.
Well, just if we're staying on the
Yeah, let's
firearm
stay on
thing,
guns for a second.
A
If
handgun
only
was a-
3% of all gun deaths come from assault
Long guns.
rifle style
Long guns.
long guns, if 97% of gun deaths are coming from handguns, why are we so worried about AR style weapons?
Because they're big and scary.
but they're not.
Because the
They're
media is
small and-
sensationalizing them and they need something to attack to get everybody else's mind off everything else.
Well, but here's my problem. And
Why,
this is,
why are they attacking vape?
this,
Those vape things instead
well,
of
that's
cigarettes.
big tobacco.
He hasn't read it, but there it is.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, tobacco. So we were going to get
We
to
did
that.
that last week, though.
We're going to get to
Well,
that.
we discussed
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
finally, but
it's gone even further.
it
now.
has nothing to do with the fact that it is a dangerous thing for the vast majority of people. It's to give them something to stand on a soapbox to yell about to take away power, to stir people
Let's
up,
look
to
at-
get things moving.
Let's look at countries of which have had mandatory buybacks and the level of violence that still goes on.
Australia,
Australia, I was reading some stats on that right before the show.
post Port Arthur.
Yeah, Australia post Port Arthur, their homicide rate went up, gun homicide rate went up, their assault rate went up.
United Kingdom.
Because the problem is the law-abiding citizens turn them in. Criminals don't care if the law changes.
So check this out. United Kingdom.
Their massacres went down.
1996.
Was their
Sure.
thing.
Dunblane. After Dunblane, this would now be considered illegal to carry in England. It's a pocket knife. It's for cutting stuff. It's not for stabbing people.
2-inch blade
It's a
tops.
2-inch pocket knife. It's for cutting stuff.
It still hurt.
Well, yeah, but
Ow.
I wouldn't use this as a defensive weapon because I can run away quicker than I can get my knife out, right? So this is a knife. It's a tool. That now is illegal for me to carry in my home country.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any fixed blade folding knife.
It's like because of knife violence.
Well, but the problem is wasn't there...
Violence is violence.
Was it in London or was it in Paris where the guy rented a box truck and drove it through a crowd?
Paris.
Paris.
Paris, okay.
They should ban box trucks
That's what I'm saying. It's
with knives on them.
evil people will find a way to do harm. The issue is not AR-15s or AK-47s or whatever black angry rifles you want to call them. Make them in desert tan, then it's not a problem anymore.
They had one in
The
Whataburger.
issue is
They-
taking away the rights of the law-abiding citizens who've done absolutely nothing wrong because of an absolutely microscopic sample of people that make incredibly bad decisions.
The issue is not violence. The issue is mental health. The issue is the upbringing of a culture who believes they can do no wrong. The upbringing of a culture that believes that they can't solve problems without screaming and shouting and crying and causing violence.
Well, I mean, look at the
it's-
argument in the thread on Facebook today. It was just shouting over the top of shouting over the top of shouting.
There's nobody's willing to have a conversation anymore. And so you look at, and we've had this conversation several months ago with social media. I think one of the big issues with social media, and we're on social media right now, right? But one of the big issues with social media is previous generations growing up, if you had 2 or 3 close friends, that's all you needed.
Yeah,
Your circle of influence are the people you could meet and talk to.
right.
Now, people judge their worth by the number of followers or the number of friends they have.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
That's- they're stupid.
And how many of the people on your Facebook page, I don't know how many you're up to now, but how many people on your Facebook page, if you walked into them on the street, you could have a conversation with?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
10%?
Oh no, probably more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also killed follow-up. You know, when's the last time you reached out to old friends because you're like, I saw them on Facebook.
Saw them on Facebook. I know what they're doing. It's like, well, one of our mutual friends, Cockerham.
Yep.
He had his first kid the other day, and I liked the picture. Yeah, see,
Oh, I missed
I
it.
liked the picture and stuff, and he shot me a message on Messenger and about something totally unrelated. I was like, oh mate, congratulations on the new kid, and it just because I liked his picture and put a little love heart on it, I didn't think, you know, the relationship has wandered off now because Cochrane was here 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
The
Lives in
relationship.
Dallas still?
I don't know. Facebook, you see.
He went to work for Capital One, if I remember right.
The relationship's so cool now. It's like, you know, well, congratulations on your baby, mate. All boiled down to liking a little love heart on a post, you know, and it's changed the way that we seek relationships and maintain relationships.
I think,
for sure.
I mean, social life is, I still think it's very important. And a lot of people, what they do nowadays, I think, is they substitute in social media for social interaction.
Yeah.
And so, like,
I definitely
where
do.
people, they'll go to work and they will come home, eat dinner,
these
go
are-
on social media,
These
go
are
to
little
bed.
endorphin boxes in our pocket.
Right.
Oh, no
And
doubt.
the only people that you end up interacting with are those who see at work, and that's it. Maybe your significant other and your kids, but people, it's getting less and less that they'll go out and start having social interactions on the norm.
Yeah,
You know,
because
but-
this is safer, you know.
It doesn't require pants.
That's true.
I'm wearing shorts.
It's true.
Yeah, and
Crocs.
Crocs, you know.
Worn out Crocs that have gotten a lot of mileage on them.
They've done their job.
It means you wear them by choice more than another pair of footwear.
Oh wow, they're comfy.
We're not getting into the Croc debate.
That's fine.
So, the 20th, this Friday, was the much vaunted and written about and hyped up and popularized Area 51
2
raid.
million people RSVP'd.
Really?
How many showed
150
up?
showed up.
150?
150.
Was there that
and
many?
only 25 of them approached the gate.
God bless them.
Two got arrested. I think
For
one
you.
got shot.
If you were watching and you were there, God bless you. I hope.
Well, the problem is
I hope it went well.
These are the your Reddit regulars. So if you look at the photos of them, the signs they had up were the most ridiculous
like
thing.
clap alien butt
Clap
cheeks.
alien cheeks, yes.
Like, okay.
What's amazing?
But would you though?
No.
They have butt cheeks.
I don't know that one off. What was that movie with Bruce Willis in? Because there was that one with 3 boobs. What movie was that?
That's not Bruce
Total
Willis,
Recall.
That's
That's
Total
Arnold
Recall.
Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, there was one with 3 boobs.
The one you're thinking of is Fifth Element.
That was it. Yeah, but
Yes.
no, I go
Mila
back to the
Jovovich.
3 boobed one.
You know what's amazing is all the people on social media who were talking about Area 51 and storming it and signing up for the post. It's almost like when Hillary was running for presidency and they were like, we're going to win, we're going to do all this, and then they just didn't show up and vote. Because that was the reason.
Required getting out of the house.
Because that was the reason that they lost, because they showed that in the previous elections that the amount of turnouts for Republican voters did not increase. It was purely whether or not the Democrats went
The reason they lost
They
was
assumed they were going to get
because
the African American
they
vote.
took
people,
Bernie
lost,
Sanders
they
out.
lost the vote.
Yeah.
And they manipulated the primaries to where Bernie Sanders, who technically should have won in a landslide, was unrepresented.
Which is terrifying, by the way.
Well, he could do the same again this time. He's the first candidate to surpass 1 million individual donations this time. Like, he's already surpassed 1 million individual people. And, you know, he's got some good ideas and he's got some fucking terrible ideas.
The majority of them are train wrecks.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Angry grandpa needs to put down the microphone.
How old is he?
He's like 77, 78.
He's
I mean,
slightly
pretty
older
old.
than Trump. I mean, Trump's old.
Yeah.
Trump's the oldest president when he started his term.
Trump, I think,
Trump was
carries
72 when he started, so he must be,
Yeah,
what,
I think
75
carries
now?
it a lot better, and I think that's good for perception for a
Yeah.
lot of things.
I don't know. And the problem is the media bias is such that I don't know if Trump's done a good job or a bad job, to be honest. You know,
You
how-
can't, you
we
can't
started
open, you
any
can't
new
open
wars?
any news outlet without the first 5 headlines being about Trump.
Right.
Unless there was something major, like something blew up somewhere.
that Trump caused.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how to judge his presidency. I don't know whether he's doing a good job or a bad job.
Have we ended up in any new wars that I'm not aware of?
Iran's about to kick off.
What about Saudi
We've
Arabia?
been
What's
talking
going,
about that for 3 years.
what's going on with Saudi Arabia?
No, didn't Iran just... Somebody blew something up in Iran. Iran just blew up some Saudi oil stuff.
Yeah.
So we've actually sent ground troops to be stationed in Iran now,
Interesting.
as of 2 days ago. So I'm not
I think
super
he's
well up on it.
relatively well avoided conflict. I mean, yeah, he's done some bold and brash things when it comes to public relations and foreign relations.
I think he was right about a lot of the trade deals, though, because if
It
you look at
seems to
it,
have worked.
we were seriously getting taken advantage of on a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I think as well, to jump back over to Europe for a minute, they're having a really hard time finding clowns for circuses because apparently most of the clowns are in the British Parliament. But it looks like they're going to end up. What, you like that? It looks like they're going to end up with a no-deal hard Brexit, and there's huge amounts of scaremongering over if we get out of Europe, we're going to just crash and burn. But then you've got to look at if we get out of Europe, that leaves us to renegotiate every single trade deal we ever had. We'll still have the same amount of stuff to import and export and everything else. It just means we can change trading partners.
Well, so looking at, I pulled up the stock indexes, right?
Yeah.
5-year trend on New York Stock Exchange.
Well, it was about 17,000 when he got in. It's about 27,000 now.
No, I'm looking at just the Dow Jones Composite Index.
Uh-huh.
So Dow Jones Composite Index bottomed out at the end of 2015 in the just under 10,000, and is currently sitting at 13,093 in after-hours trading. It's pretty much, other than a big spike in mid-2017, it's been on an uphill trend
Consistently.
for the last 3 years.
Yeah. So,
I think the NASDAQ's the same way.
But, you know, is the stock market growing because of value added to it, or is the stock market value growing
Yeah.
because of inflation?
There's your 5-year curve on the Dow.
You know, where's the rates of inflation? Because the housing market around here, houses 10 years ago you could buy for $95,000 are now commanding upwards of $150,000.
But is that
So-
happening nationwide or locally?
I have no idea. I would imagine more locally than nationwide, being as we are kind of concentrated in a little bubble, and the fact that there's a shortage of houses at that end of the market.
And then housing market stuff too are swinging because Texas has had 3 500-year floods in the past 3 years, and so there are lots of people whose home building abilities are going down.
On a 5-year curve, inflation's been around stable. Whether this is right, I'm just looking at quick Google searches, but it looks like it's around stable. So
they say Houston, though, believe it or not, because I thought it would be New Orleans, but they say Houston may be the first major U.S. city that's lost to flooding. If this trend continues and we go let's say we go another 20 years and they're having 500-year floods every 3 years.
Well, no, it was 3 500-year floods in the past 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was the tax floods, then Harvey, and then Imelda.
Right. So if
Imelda was a lot more localized than Harvey was.
But if we have this level of flooding every single year, because I'm reading stuff about so-and-so just moved back into their house and they just got settled back and it's flooded again.
There's houses in my parents' neighborhoods that haven't been moved back into since Harvey.
Have they flooded again since Harvey?
I don't know. I don't think they're on the west side of town near Barker Reservoir, and Barker didn't fill up on Imelda that it did on Harvey. But Harvey hit the west side of town, the east side of town, the north side of town, hit everything. Imelda stayed on the east side of 45 and south of the tollway. Okay. So it wrapped around the ship channel area, and it hit Kingwood, it hit the San Jacinto River, it hit Conroe.
But
Beaumont.
At what point do you keep going in and rebuilding on these 500-year floods?
Let's look at.
I would be hedging my bet that it should be good now for the next 500 years.
Right, 1933.
I bet you're going to try and sell me volcano insurance too.
So
it's important.
We haven't had one in a while.
It's important.
Sorry, 1933. Please carry on.
You look back at the flood in 1900, the hurricane in 1900.
1906.
Was that Galveston?
Galveston.
Yeah.
Which at the time Galveston was bigger than Houston. Well, because
it was the biggest storm ever, and it was the biggest loss of life. Yeah, it was a huge event. It wiped out Galveston Island. It just destroyed it.
It kept Galveston from growing. So Galveston was originally going to be the bigger city than Houston.
Oh yeah,
and
Galveston was it, dude.
The problem with Houston is as it's expanded, it has suffered urban sprawl. And the areas that they're building in were known flood areas.
Right.
Not even 500-year flood areas. Kingwood and all those areas. So Lake Conroe, Lake Livingston, Lake Houston are all water reservoirs for Houston drinking water. Right. They're all artificial.
Absolutely.
Well, they dammed up rivers to get
There's only one natural lake in Texas, mate.
It's Caddo.
Caddo, yeah.
And it's been grown by...
Caddo was grown by being flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the dude that made Shreveport.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
that's going back.
Yeah, going back a minute. But Houston is about to undergo a major construction boom, funded on people going in and buying out these neighborhoods that are flooding too much and doing basically terraforming and creating more drainage areas, creating more reservoirs. The bayou system works, but they're going to have to build what happens with the bayou system is storm surge or high tide will push in, the bayous can't drain, and then they fill. And so then when the storm surge backs out, that's one of the things that hurt with Harvey, is it went, if I remember right, the wet side of the storm pushed up the channel. And so all that stuff filled.
Right.
And then you couldn't drain anywhere.
Well, it was already filled, and then
you had all those people being born down there too.
And and then you had the high tide and the storm surge came in at the same time, and you can't drain anywhere. So Houston's entire drainage system relies on its bayous going into the ship channel.
So do you buy real estate in a flooded neighborhood in Houston and rehab it? Is that where we're going?
If you can buy it super cheap, sure.
I mean, you can, but
my parents.
Can you get flood insurance now? Or?
No,
you can, but it's going to be exceptional.
I mean, are they going to mandate? Are they going to mandate all these subdivisions raise the houses up, put them on stilts?
Well, so they did that in Meyerland. I don't know if you're familiar with the Meyerland area of Houston. Meyerland borders Brays Bayou. It's a very old neighborhood. It's a historically Jewish neighborhood, and it floods every time Brays Bayou goes out of its banks. Well, they went in and they got federal grants to raise these houses. And so there's companies that come through and pick the houses up 12 to 15 feet, put them on stilts, build new foundations under them, build staircases up to them, and move on. And if you drive through Meyerland, there's a bunch of houses up and a bunch of houses down.
I mean, is that the next construction boom in Houston? Elevating houses.
My parents' neighborhood flooded pretty severely during Harvey. Their house didn't flood because it was in front of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I remember that.
But the houses in the back of the neighborhood, a lot of them were being built with their first floors as garages and storage areas
only,
and their second floor is where they're starting the homes.
That makes a lot of sense, you know.
But these houses are 3 stories tall now in a neighborhood that historically didn't have that.
But is that needed, or is it going to be one of the things where that never happens?
Well, so Houston has historically fought concreting in the bayous.
Right.
Braze Bayou and White Oak Bayou are concreted in. But Buffalo Bayou, which is one of the major drainage routes from West Houston, isn't concreted except for certain areas because they want them to look natural as natural bayous. Well, they're running out of options.
Right.
They're going to end up coming in and doing LA River style drainage where they box these things in and you have...
Yeah, but then we could have like street races like somewhere
Or
safe.
shoot Terminator.
Yeah,
shoot
Terminator.
ride Harley Davidsons.
But the issue
mean-
with Buffalo Bayou is it runs directly through downtown Houston.
Right.
And so during, I think it was Allison.
They'll get used to it. Paint it over with something
Well, no,
as
no,
long
no.
as it works.
What I'm saying, the issue is when they look at water velocity. So they can't, it curves through downtown Houston between buildings. So if you have this huge water velocity and water volume, they had an issue, I think it was during Allison, I'd have to go back and look, where TransStar, which is Houston's emergency management center, was below one of the buildings and the outside wall touched Buffalo Bayou. Well, the water broke through the wall and flooded their emergency command center.
Wow.
So
That's a mess.
So they had an emergency there.
Same thing that happened with Allison, where the medical center had all their backup generators in the basement. Whoops.
That's where I'd leave them.
So they've moved them all to the roofs of the buildings now.
Right.
It's Houston's going to have to undergo some major changes because it grew so fast for so long.
So I wanted to bring up something completely off topic that's not about Houston flooding.
All right.
Going back to Area 51,
Okay.
which I know you don't like. So a couple of years ago, Tom DeLonge, the guy from Blink 182, he has this thing where they're paying him a lot of money to be the frontman for it. It's called the To the Stars Academy. And they released or leaked some footage from some Navy pilots that were chasing a UFO that was, they called it the Tic Tac UFO from 2004.
Yeah, they were flying and they saw it.
Yeah.
And they locked onto it and tracked
Well,
it.
they were flying.
It wasn't just
And
all.
print-
It was
it was-
3 different events from 2004 and 8 and 15 or something. I thought.
Close. On the 2004 event, they were flying, and Princeton actually picked it up on part of their super advanced radar thing.
Yeah.
And so it was an experimental radar program that caught this UFO, and they said, hey guys, you're flying, just scoot on over and check it out. Well, the Navy admitted 2 days ago that, those videos weren't supposed to be declassified externally, only internally, and that those UFOs were actually real.
We don't know what the hell they are.
My guess is it's advanced technology that we own. My guess
Could
is
be
it's-
another country. It could be us.
but advanced technology that humanity's
Yeah.
come up with. I don't believe there's some little green men running around out there. But with that, and with the news out today, I don't know if you'd seen this or not, the breakthrough in quantum computing that Google has had. So Google has come up with a quantum computer, which I can barely pronounce, never mind begin to understand. These guys might know, but it basically takes binary and makes it
Tertiary?
a lot more. Huh?
To go tertiary.
I don't know.
Well, it's superposition stuff.
See, I'm
It's-
already lost.
So,
Well, hold on. I got to finish what I wrote down.
Oh yeah, let them go.
So they've got an algorithm that they programmed into the Google Cloud, and they estimated it would take 10,000 years of all the Google Cloud processing power to solve the algorithm. The quantum computer did it in 30 seconds. So between that and the Tic Tac, are we undergoing another renaissance?
So if it does tertiary, so the way to think about that is that binary, you have 1s and 0s. So tertiary would be like instead of at 1, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way through.
I didn't understand it, but the way they explained it in the article was it was like binary, but like binary chopped into fractions.
That's
so it was-
stacked.
Yeah,
well,
which
it
makes
was, and I was looking for the article real quick, but I know the last Google article I read, so Google has been using their CAPTCHA version to program their AI DeepMind for, 2 or 3 years now.
I always think
So
of
when
Alan Ziggy when it's quantum.
When
and that's it.
when you go on a website and it says, click anything on this box that has a street light in it. That is actually, they're using that to program their AI. I think it's called DeepMind, if I remember right, is what Google's AI is called. And they've been using that for years, using basically crowdsource to program it how to look at pictures, how to read photos. And they're intentionally low quality because HD photos, it can pick out shapes and match them.
Right.
Whereas the grainier, like security camera style photos, it can't because your pixels are so large that you have bleed area. But Google and IBM have both been working on superposition quantum computing, where you can have both 1 and 0 at the same time.
Right.
And a very interesting point of view I read the other week, and I know we've touched on it before, is that all plants and animals have reproductive organs and reproductive systems.
Sure.
And somebody wrote a very compelling article asking if are humans the reproductive organ of technology? Because if you think about it, all we do is focus on amassing wealth and advancing technology. That's all we do as a species.
Let's look at technology.
To the detriment of half of the fucking humans that live on the planet.
Since the first transistor was invented, that could have a position of 1 or 0, on or off, we have not changed that technology much since it was created. Let's say 50 years
Just
ago.
made it smaller.
Right, we have increased its density.
Right.
At the end of the day, no matter how complicated the problem is, it is broken down into machine language of ones and zeros, ons and offs. And that's where quantum computing promises a huge breakthrough, is you can have more than 2 positions.
Right.
It's the Kama Sutra of technology.
You can put so
Kind of like, so it's gender fluid then.
It's gender fluid.
you can put so much more information and translate so much more information and process so much more in so much little memory and processing power. So that's by doing that you're stacking these things all up by 10, and so you're able to get what normally would have taken you this many digits, you're doing it here, and then so you just exponentially.
All we've done with this is taken some rock and taken some metal and trapped some lightning in it.
Essentially, yes.
You know, so this is like way beyond
but our
that.
current chip,
chemistry and processes.
our
I have
current
no idea
chip
how it works.
technology, at the end of the day, you still have segments of the processor cordoned off to do certain things. There are functions on the chip that can only do one thing. You have your video processing, you have your clock processing.
While something's being used, the other ones can't use it too.
Right, the other one, you can't use them for multiple things.
Right.
The promise of quantum computing is you could run 10 problems through the same bit, and it could do the 10 things at once.
Right, right.
So it's super, I need to find that article because it's super interesting to me if they've actually made a breakthrough. Because it's been a couple of years since a major quantum computing breakthrough.
Well, yeah, it was on Reddit of all places. So take a peek and see if you can find that. But I really think that, you know, if the quantum computing things come into fruition, and if that UFO was controlled by stuff that we've got, I mean, it went from 80,000 feet to 2,000 feet in seconds, like way faster than gravity would allow.
And it took off, and they said that there were more than one of them too. One of them was like the guy is the voice over the. That's why I thought it was multiple instances, because there's one where I was watching it.
There's a few videos,
and he was like, you can hear them over the announcement. And he said, "Man, look at all of them. What are they doing?" And they're like, "I don't know what the hell that is." But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
So I read that drone technology is about to change too. Apparently, we're having issues with the Chinese and Chinese-made drones, specifically the ones I fly, the DJI stuff.
Yeah.
And reporting GPS positions back to China through sending information back and effectively spying.
Well, there was a huge issue a couple years ago where, so you can run a trace route on anything you do on the internet. And let's say you want to go to a website, and you go to traceroute, I think traceroute.org is the quickest one, and you put in the website you want to go to, and it tells you what switches and servers your data goes through. And usually it's going to bounce around a little bit, like in College Station, it's going to run down to Houston, then it's going to hop a fiber line to wherever it needs to go, and it's going to jump off. There was an issue where like 60% of the data in the US was going to mainland China and then coming back.
Wow.
Because some of the switches they were using were rerouting for load dependencies, saying that, oh, there's a load issue, so we're going to send it across the ocean through their data centers in Shanghai and then back. And they're saying, oh, we didn't scrape any data, we didn't do this.
Yeah, they did.
Well, bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's where, people got mad at Trump for saying
Maybe
things
they
about.
didn't. What if
Well, I
they're
mean, it's
telling
like
the truth?
globalism versus nationalism.
Well, the NSA, I think it's the NSA, does not allow any contractor they work with to use, I think it's Hawaii
Hawaii.
technology, because there's concerns of hidden programming and chips in them that are scraping data and looking for things.
Absolutely.
But our government has hidden programming chips in every single computer that's out there.
Sure.
They've got backdoors into all of it.
They just had the government a couple of years ago where they were trying to get Apple to
Build a backdoor into
backdoor,
iOS.
and they wouldn't do it. So then what the government did is contracted hackers to do it for them.
To find
and,
it.
And then they did it, and so the
Black
government
hat stuff.
the government contracted hackers to figure out a backdoor to do it anyway.
Well, a lot of the
And
higher
so-
profile hackers end up working for the government.
Yeah. So now
They're
they got
like,
it.
hey, you want to go to jail for the next 50 years? You want to work for us?
Yeah, and they're allowed to with their code words that they have for their.
Sounds like they're bullies, man.
It's a government.
It sounds like they're just collecting data to do whatever the hell they want with, and the same thing with China. But data just surpassed what I heard the other day was that it surpassed the value of energy in the world.
But how
Yeah.
soon, right? How soon when you've got your phone listening to you and you've got all this data being harvested, how soon do we get a social credit score to
China
where
already has it.
I'm not allowed on an airplane because somebody overheard me say cunt in a private conversation?
China already has it.
You know?
China has their social credit system has been up and running now for I think a year and a half.
So we're about to have behavioral control enforced on us
It's
by
like the
authorities.
Black Mirror episode
Yeah, it's crazy.
where your interactions with people judge your ability to do things, where you can live, what you can do, what you can buy.
Yeah, I mean,
Then when it's no longer just what you said and what you typed, but what you thought.
That's a whole nother
well,
enigma.
No, we're getting.
But
it's not an
We're
enigma.
get- we're
I
getting
was
to that
talking,
point
I
where-
was talking with a fella about security last night and facial recognition cameras, and the camera on your phone, it recognizes the emotions in your face
Yeah.
as you're browsing the internet, and it's feeding that data back to Facebook. Cameras that any kind of security camera that's networked, they can literally face identify you and follow you around to the extent
Hong
that
Kong.
California has just made it illegal for the police to use facial recognition software to track suspects.
Well, they've been using license plate identification for years. There's police cars here in town that you can see them driving around. They got little black boxes on all four corners of the vehicle, and they read every license plate they pass. And they're looking for, expired. They say they're looking for expired registration. They're looking for stolen vehicles. They're looking for stuff like that. But they can use it for whatever they want. So you look at facial recognition. So I've got a iPhone XS, 10s Max, whatever they call it, with Face ID, and it is crazy the angles that it can pick up and identify the face. So if I tap on my phone from here, it'll unlock at about that angle. It does it when they first came out. They had to be pointed right at you.
Right.
Yeah. These now I can roll over at 3 a.m. with the lights off, and it uses infrared, and it'll pick up that it's me.
Oh, you use infrared?
Yeah.
Nice.
It doesn't use visible light. There's actually, if you look at an infrared security camera,
Exactly what infrared is.
sure.
Sorry.
There's some videos of people.
Different kind of light.
There's some
Not
people
visible.
that have
Magic
like
light.
baby monitors that are infrared, and you can see it. It flashes. It strobes.
The babies
infrared
are
light.
like demons when they turn around. Their eyes
Yeah.
reflect.
Do you know your
infrared.
phone can pick up infrared? So if you take your phone and go through your video program and look at your TV remote that you usually can't see it, you can see it flashing through your phone because your camera will pick it up and translate it to visible light.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
interesting.
didn't know that. Did not know
But
that.
it's really crazy because if you think about it, so you were saying it's, for science-wise, technology you can develop. So if you're using something that's infrared, so it's not visible, but you have to have a detector that picks up infrared light. There are other types of energy and stuff that you can bounce off of stuff to use, for night vision, and you can use it for data transfer and things. Because imagine if you had a fast blinking infrared light and a receiver, you could send binary signals with infrared light and nobody could ever see it. Your television's
Yeah.
doing that.
It's Morse code and infrared.
Exactly, and so you're flashing these things and doing. There's technology implications.
Well,
that
so
are
the
crazy.
Apple put in the new iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max. They have I was watching a teardown, and on their motherboard there's a new chip that they've never had on there before, and it's an ultra wideband chip, not 5G, but it is, according to Apple, intended to replace Bluetooth because it's a much faster data rate. But
Bluetooth's pretty cool.
Bluetooth is really cool, but Bluetooth has open communication without consent.
Correct.
So your devices can communicate with each other through Bluetooth, even if you don't tell the phone you can communicate with that
Right.
device. You can create networks of phones using Bluetooth.
Well, why aren't we having Halo parties? Like back in the day, can we not network our phones?
They're
and
doing stupid Fortnite now or whatever it is.
Fortnite. I've never played. My
You
kids.
know,
were-
LAN parties, I don't carry my whole computer and monitor with me to somewhere and plug it in.
I remember.
gotta do what you gotta do.
Dude, I remember loading up the Xbox and a TV and
Yeah.
driving over to my buddy's house, and 8 of us. We'd have 2 TVs, 2 Xboxes.
Quit looking at my screen, man.
No, we'd be back to back.
Yeah.
So it'd be like
Yeah, but quit
2
looking at my-
couches
quit
back
looking
to
at my
back.
corner.
Tape the monitor,
Yeah,
with
tape
the
the monitor.
sheet. You're like,
Oh, man.
But those days are gone because I've got online gaming. I've played online gaming once in my life, and it was Halo 2, and I was on my brother-in-law's Xbox about 15 years ago, whenever it came out.
You kept getting killed by a bunch of
I
Asian
kept getting
kids.
killed by a bunch of kids, and after I died about 6 times, each life I had lasted about 4 seconds. I was like, man, forget this. And, just a bunch of kids talking trash about killing you. And I was like, that did it for me. I was done. They ran me out of the schoolyard.
the British guy sucks.
Nah, I don't know. Yeah, it just.
So what's the?
I always preferred playing video games like with the people in the room. You know, I never got into the online thing. I always preferred it to have some mates around and
So
they
since
can
you seem
drink
to be-
beer and eat potato
You
chips.
seem to be more up on this than we are. What's going on in Hong Kong right now?
You know what? I don't know. It's still very much in the news, but I've kind of. There's only so much you can read about people being oppressed and killed at random by their government before you just like, you know what? I'm gonna just stick on my side of the gun control argument and hope it doesn't happen here. Hong Kong is a mess. So, I don't know.
Because I saw they were painting. There was face recognition cameras everywhere in Hong Kong, and they've been going around.
They've been spray painting
them
them to turn it off. Yeah, but you know, one of the articles I was reading in
They were painting the people too with colored
Well, and the other thing,
water and stuff
Yeah.
so they could identify.
so they could identify them on the subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going back to facial recognition and stuff, and probably what was happening in Hong Kong from a shopping center perspective. If you remember Minority Report,
Yep.
where
They walk through
they
and
walk-
targeted ads.
that's happening now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
With the facial-
they've already been doing that in Japan, where
Exactly.
it's in your
That's what I was
phone.
getting at to Hong Kong is like the cameras are picking up your face, recognizing the face, and then
Looking
as you're
up who you
walking
are.
past billboards, they're customizing the ads to the people that are walking past them at that time.
Yeah.
So Minority Report is starting to happen, which is absolutely fascinating.
I like the Minority Report because they were doing the eye scanning
Yep,
as opposed to
retinal
the whole
scanning.
face recognition. But I mean, imagine that and doing something where people start wearing sunglasses or contacts to block that out.
Well,
I
but
mean,
the sunglasses
do
don't
it.
stop the face recognition stuff.
I would
So,
do it.
Like my phone, if I'm wearing sunglasses, will still unlock. It's still, but if I'm wearing polarized sunglasses, it won't.
what's interesting is if it was
My reflective Ray-Bans, it won't open.
Well, it depends, or not depends, but it would be interesting if they had something where, like, if it was doing like infrared scanning, if your glasses didn't block infrared light, but only like UV
Well,
light. So then will they start developing a technology where the light is a completely different one that you would not even have a sunglass manufacturer
You wouldn't even
making
know.
that
I mean,
blocking device?
If,
Well,
if
so-
it gets to that level, though, at what
I've
point?
played with the settings in the Face ID, and there's a setting you can put for require attention. So you have to be looking at it, so it can tell if you're looking at the phone. If you turn that off, I can show it the side of your face and it'll unlock.
But at what point do I just say, you know what, I'm going to go live in a cabin, I'm going to chop wood, I'm going to carry water, I'm going to go fishing, and I'm out? Because that kind of life does not appeal to me.
Well, it's
one bit.
It's pushing satellites out as observation. So satellites pushed out planes like the U-2 spy plane and stuff, and now the cameras in our pockets are pushing out satellites. You know, there was what movie? It was one of the new Batman movies where they left a phone in a drawer, and the phone used sonar to map
yeah.
the room.
Yeah, that was Dark Knight.
Yeah, and we're to that
we
point
can,
now.
we can do that, yeah.
If there's 40 people in a room with cell phones, if you could get those cell phones to work together, which wouldn't be hard if they're all from the same manufacturer, get those cell phones to work together, you could have a map of the room and who was in it.
Yeah.
A 3D map.
A 3D map of everything, live.
With chips.
Well, and if you've got ultra-wideband communication where you don't have to have...
But-
so there is a list, and I found out about this through
I don't
a
want
family
that.
member who is military.
Sorry.
Well, I found out about this from a family who's military. There's a list of phone numbers, of SIM card numbers, that in the event of a national emergency and they shut down the cell phone network, there's lists of cell phones that are allowed to operate. So the system can identify these 5,000 cell phones that are key personnel, and it becomes a government communications network, and your phone's not allowed to make a call.
I don't want to live like that. I just don't.
But that's been around since 3G came out.
No, not a list of cell phone owners.
Would you
I
still be able
mean,
to call through Wi-Fi
the
and stuff?
facial
don't know.
recognition. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be any part of it. I don't want to be monitored 24/7 and have my data sold to companies that are going to advertise to me. I just don't want to.
Well, what's even crazier thing about it is that, I mean, I
Doesn't
still
appeal.
remember as a kid being able to pull out the Atlas in the back of my mom's car because she drove around Cincinnati all the time. And it was the old school one where you looked up in the back and it had the address or the street name, and then it showed the page, the
grid
block, and the
reference.
grid.
Yeah.
And you go through, and I mean, that's how people would get around. Nowadays, I mean, if you're using not only your phone, but if my phone didn't work, I could still go to Google Maps and type
Yeah.
out and get the print instructions.
Yeah.
Imagine if I had to get to like somewhere in south of Houston, like an address, and the internet was down and your phone was down and you had no access to any of that. I honestly don't know, and I couldn't call anybody. I honestly don't know how I would get
Who
to
still
it.
keeps a paper atlas?
Or how long has it been since one's been
See,
updated that they
my
still
dad
sell?
still keeps. No, they
Yeah.
still sell them. My dad still keeps a big fold-out.
They have
map
them at the
in his
gas
car.
station. You can get them at gas stations.
They're
like
typically
Buc-ee's
within
and stuff.
6 months old. He still keeps one in his car.
Okay.
He's like, look, if everything stops working, I need to know how to get somewhere.
Oh yeah.
You know, he updates it probably every 6 months. He
If
buys a new
everything
one.
stops working, I already know everywhere I need to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, and I don't think that everything will stop working. But I was talking to a person who shall remain very, very nameless the other day.
Tom.
No,
Bill.
Yeah, let's call her Bill. And
She.
no, it's a dude.
Oh.
But he said that one of the things that was worrying the Pentagon the most was EMP, either from a enemy nation, but more likely from a solar flare,
Yeah.
from the sun, and that was one of the biggest emergency planning things that they were trying to prepare for. Was not a
Massive
matter
solar
of
flare.
if, but when we get hit by a solar flare and it knocks out the electronics,
They're already.
they're budgeting 10 years for the infrastructure to recover.
Yeah.
You
They're
imagine
already-
10 years
Well,
without
they're
electric?
replacing a lot of stuff with hardened units.
Yep.
But they don't know to what level to harden them.
Correct. So
Because it hasn't happened in modern age.
the sun's also
Cyclical.
it's cycling and it's also changing. So a lot of electronics that were made back in the 70s and 80s are going to go bad because of the way the sun's energy is being hit on the earth now, and they're trying to keep the technology in front of it. So not only will it go obsolete because of its just obsolescence in use, but because of its actual inability to be used.
Boom boxes will never be obsolete.
Yeah, like eventually they won't work just because
As,
they.
as
Unless
long
they
as they
have
make
vacuum tubes
D-sized batteries.
No, they still have electronics in them.
It was a joke.
Oh, okay.
Well, then they also fucked everything else. I'm going to get into that because it pisses me off because the government has no idea what they're doing. But they thought that lead and solder was going to be a big problem. So they just all of a sudden randomly were like, no more lead and solder because lead's really bad. Well, then what they did is they started adding other stuff in there. And then what you get are called spider legs. So on the boards over time, as the electricity is going through them, it wants to connect, so it'll actually have little spider-looking legs that
Yeah.
go, and then once they touch, it goes, boop, and everything.
That path of least resistance.
Path of least resistance.
That's what finals
It'll
are.
form its own path of least resistance because it's old, or because of the new shitty technology they use in solder.
But it's also designed
Are you
obsolescence.
saying solder?
Yes.
Solder,
Solder.
solder,
Yeah, it's got an L in there.
SOLDER.
Yeah, it's got an L in there.
solder,
Yeah.
What?
solder.
It's
Solder.
regional.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Ohio.
Ohio. They speak funny in Ohio. ladies
say
and gentlemen.
war.
Perhaps there's solder as well.
What?
Say pop too.
Solder.
Pop. You know, we say pop. We say pop, but it's a Coke.
That's a Spanish Coke.
It is a
The
yeah.
legal kind.
I say soda just because all the artards down here get so upset and they're like, pop, dude, where's that from? They're like, it's called Coke, idiot. Give me a Coke, Dr. Pepper, please.
I had somebody the other day ask me, I was like, can I have a
Sorry.
Diet Coke? Like, is Pepsi okay?
No.
Is fake money okay?
Yeah, Steve Carell commercial is Pepsi okay? Of course it's okay. It's like, no, it's not.
God, no, I
Tastes
don't like
garbage,
Pepsi.
Steve Carell.
It does. It just tastes funny.
Laundry trimmings.
It just tastes funny. I don't like Pepsi. Sorry.
Tastes like paint.
It tastes like
and
paint.
wood.
What?
paint did you
How
eat?
do you know what paint tastes like?
Did you ever see Dennis the Menace?
Years
a long
ago.
time ago, mate. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's not a movie I seek out on a regular basis.
That's a great movie.
You know what's blue and tastes like red paint?
I don't know.
Blue paint.
I thought there was a Blue Man Group joke coming.
I was expecting some political joke because he said blue paint and red paint.
No. It was just a paint joke.
With
So
green, it smells like pork.
stop it. And I think on that bombshell, we are out of time for the week, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So we've talked all night long. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to throw a huge thank you to Alex, of course, and David for tolerating me and having an hour up here. And
It's always a pleasure.
it is a pleasure. It's my pleasure. I like hanging out, and I like not having guests because it means I don't have to interview strangers. So this is more fun for me. But we will probably switch back to having a couple of guests up here just to keep it a little more interesting for you guys and not have so much talk about aliens and UFOs and all kinds of probes and stuff.
The taste of paint.
I want to throw a thank you to Cavalier Cigar. Huge thanks to these guys for having us out here. Come check them out there at 505 University, is that right? In Suite 303, right next to where the old Fox and Hound was. And I want to throw a huge shout out to the guys at Texas Media Foundry for making us look somewhat decent. If you need videos done, if you need media done, if you need live stream, or if you want your own podcast, hit those guys up and they can help you out. You can check them out at thetexasmediafoundry.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you same time next week. Have a good night.
Thanks.